welcome to this Tuesday edition of the Jim Miller President Sports Program here on BWC Internet Media. Tonight we're going to be talking about yesterday's game between the Saints and the Falcons. The Saints winning in that one, but we'll talk about that a little more later. And that was Monday Night Madness last night, Ryan, and we're going to have some Tuesday Night Madness tonight, which we'll also be talking about that. And the governor of Pennsylvania made some interesting comments.
He has a lot of issues. I can't wait to get into that because that was just a lot of fun talking about that yesterday with you.
So I'll tell you all about that. And we got the playoffs coming up, Ryan, and getting pumped for that. And we're going to do a little preview, talk about who's going to be good, who might be bad, and
believe it or not, you're going to get a bad team in the playoffs this year. It doesn't happen all the time, but the NFC West.
Oh yeah.
We'll get into that a little later as well. But I want to start Monday Night Football. We go through the game yesterday with our Monday Night Madness bit, which we didn't even post, but who cares? We go through it, 5 questions, key matchup, and a prediction. And the key to the game last night, what I thought the key would be, turned out to be the key. And that was Drew Brees getting the ball out of his hands quickly. He attempted 49 passes, threw for over 300 yards, got the drive at the end of the game down to that something Campbell. He's the rookie tight end who played basketball in college, believe it or not. Kind of an Antonio Gates thing. Yeah. Catches the pass for the touchdown, and then Matt Ryan gets the ball back, can't make the plays. So he has to punt. And Drew Brees, they threw the ball as opposed to running the ball to run out the clock. And that's how they run it out. Matt Ryan doesn't get the ball back in his hands. Saints win the game in Atlanta. And that was the key. Mm-hmm. That was another key I was talking about yesterday, was that the Falcons were at home. They are 19-1 at home when Matt Ryan's there. And now they're 19-2. Yeah. Saints win 17-14. It was a great game last night.
It was indeed. So,
go ahead. Do what you got to do.
All right. So we're gonna revisit the questions from.
Ooh, I like this.
Yep. We're gonna revisit the questions, see what came true.
Because people are actually gonna hear this, right. So they'll know what the questions were, and most of the questions will be like, "Really?"
Well, we talked a lot about both the quarterbacks. We talked about the running backs, and talked a little bit about the defense. But first one was, did Matt Ryan handle the ball hawking Saints secondary?
He threw for $146, so my answer would be no.
Yeah.
You know, but he didn't turn the ball over. Drew Brees was the one that threw 2 picks. And Matt Ryan, he had a nice touchdown to Roddy White. I think that was in the second quarter. Yeah, it was in the second quarter. And it was, he made some plays, but he didn't make the plays. That's the whole key in this game. Drew Brees made the plays at the end of the game. Just kind of, did he really need to solidify his position as arguably one of the best quarterbacks in the game? I'd say Brady's just like a hair better. Uh-huh. But if there's a 1, then he's 1A, and Manning is still 1B. Yeah. And I mean, he didn't need to solidify that, but he did with another great game. He doesn't have a running game this year. Right. He had a running game last year. He doesn't have one this year. So this team is on his back, and he's going to make the plays. And Matt Ryan, who was here in question number 1, he didn't make the plays.
Mm-hmm. All right, and our second one, did the Falcons pass rush get after Drew Brees enough, I should say?
Well, he got after it. They got to him a little bit. The defensive line was the one that made the 2 interceptions. It was Brees was pressured, and he just kind of dumped it, and suddenly a defensive lineman for the Falcons just catches it, runs it back the other way for a touchdown, and the other one was a tip ball. John Abraham gets his big hands on it and goes down. So they got at him. The Saints were held to 17 points with Brees dropping back 49 times. So they did enough to win. Again, the Falcons' offense didn't have it last night.
Right.
At home, which is shocking.
Yeah. They've been so good for this entire season and just couldn't get it done last night. But now we switch to the Drew Brees question. Did he handle the Falcons' pass rush?
He did a brilliant job. Did exactly what I thought he did. He had a quick screen in the second or third quarter, to a quick screen to Reggie Bush, which was just a release. He was wide open. Just like I said, the pass rush is coming. All of a sudden, no one's around Reggie Bush. Luckily, the Falcons were able to get him for only a 5-yard gain, but it was one of those big plays that could have been an even bigger play. So, yeah, he did exactly what I thought he was going to do. Mm-hmm. Brees was really good. I mean, that was just, when you run into a hot quarterback, there's nothing you're going to
do. Yeah. And the next question, how big of a question, or how big of a factor was Reggie Bush in this game?
Let me ask you a question. What did I say yesterday?
That he was not going to be a factor.
Reggie Bush, but what did I say Reggie Bush does? he makes 1 or 2 plays a game to remind you that he's still there.
Right.
That's what he did.
Mm-hmm.
Right, that play that I just mentioned. He made his one play. It was only a 5-yard gain, but it could have been a 15-yard touchdown.
Yeah.
So he reminded everyone he was there, but he's not the biggest deal. That's
Yeah.
He's there to scare defenses, even though he's not that scary. If that makes any sense. That's his role on the Saints, and they spent a first-round pick on him. That's what fourth-round picks do.
Yeah.
At USC, he was a beast, and at Saints, he's kind of a
mediocre.
Yeah, and he's hurt all the time. I think he hurt his knee again last night. Wah wah.
Uh-huh.
He had that collar. It looked like he had hurt his collarbone with that punt return last night. You were watching the game with me for that part. But he's kind of a factor. He was exactly what I thought he was going to be. Made the
He was who we thought he was.
Made the one little play, and that's the end of it.
All right, and our final question: did Michael Turner run the ball well against the Saints defense?
No, he was terrible.
He got stripped there at the goal line.
He did. They had that strip at the goal line. The Saints get back. Well, the stat John Gruden was talking about last night that was fascinating to me was that the Saints, for like 15 years, on goal line plays, which means their offense is at the end zone and the Saints defense is defending, they had given up a touchdown on like every drive since like 1992 or something. It was like this really long run of the Saints not doing a goal line stand.
Wow.
And then as soon as he says that, Michael Turner fumbles on the 1-yard line and the Saints recover. So it was a huge play for the Saints, and Michael Turner, I can't remember, our internet does not work right now, so I don't have enough stats in front of me, but Michael Turner, I heard that the Falcons only had like 30 yards rushing at some point in the third quarter, so it wasn't, he was like a non-factor, and maybe that's why Matt Ryan couldn't make the plays, because Matt Ryan might turn out to just be a quarterback that needs a running game. Like Troy Aikman needed a running game. He wouldn't have been a Hall of Famer if he had to throw the ball 50 times a game without Emmitt Smith. So maybe that's Matt Ryan's fate, forever bound to a running back.
Yeah, well, that's a question for the future, though.
Mm-hmm. So now I want to spin this forward just a little bit, and I'll ask you, because you've just been sitting there looking at me. Saints and Falcons. In a playoff scenario, and you're not going to like this because this is a tough question.
I can see it coming.
Could the Saints go to Atlanta again in a playoff scenario and win it?
Oh, wow. Well, this game was so close. It could have gone either way with just a matter of just one play being made and one play not being made. And, this is quite the question here. And I'd love to see it happen in the playoffs. I would say that they could certainly do it, but I think that the Falcons, they've learned their lessons from this game, and I think they'd come back even stronger against the Saints. And I think that the Falcons would, they got their experience. They should be able to have a better shot against the Saints, and they're going to be one of the most dangerous teams in the playoffs. So it's going to be very interesting to see if that does happen. But I think that they certainly do have a shot to knock off the Saints at home.
Okay, and now I'm just having fun. Can Michael Vick go to Atlanta and do it? Every show I heard was talking about that today.
Michael Vick going to Atlanta.
That'd be great. That would be grerait.
You're talking about Saints Falcons and Eagles Falcons. Man, that's I would. That'd probably be even better. But
the only way they can meet, I think, is the NFC Championship game. So
yeah,
big deal.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be. Could you imagine that, the NFC Championship game? Michael Vick going back to Atlanta. That'd be fun to see.
Oh yeah, it'd be game of the year right there.
Yes, absolutely. And then there are all the other playoff teams we're getting into. But coming up next, Tim, I want to hit a little. I don't know if the internet works or not, so I don't know what we're gonna do. But I want to talk about some of the other playoff teams, the rest of the playoff teams.
The rest.
Where they kind of fit in the scenario, in all the scenarios, and there's some teams in the NFC that aren't even in the playoffs yet that people think can do damage, and in the AFC is set as long as Peyton Manning takes care of business. I think against Tennessee, so they should get that done. And just how everything's going to pan out. Week 17 is usually the irrelevant week in the season, and it's kind of shaping up that way again. So I think this is we're going to have a little fun with the playoff teams next, I think.
That's coming up on the Jim Miller President Sports Program.
Yep.